Mr. President, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Not one of us would last a day here in Congress without our staffs. But, Mr. President, it's not just our staffs. There are a lot of other people on this campus who are essential to ensuring the continued running of this institution. The men and women who clean our offices, who perform ongoing maintenance around the Capitol complex, who ensure that members and staffers have some place to get food, who issue ID badges, who run the press galleries, who maintain our historic buildings, who set up for events, sometimes very big events, and then break things down afterward. Mr. President, the list is long. Day-to-day operations in the Capitol complex are significant in themselves, but there have been some particularly noteworthy events recently. President Carter's lying in state, a presidential visit, and President Trump's inauguration. Every one of these events required substantial planning and coordination and a lot of extra work for a lot of people. And today, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. There's no way to name all of the people who are involved in pulling off these events, but I want to make sure to recognize the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, ably led by Senators Klobuchar and Fisher, and by Mike Wagner and Julia Daniel, Executive Director and Chief of Staff of the committee. The inauguration would not have happened without these folks, and I'm very grateful for their work. I also want to thank the architect of the Capitol, Tom Austin, and his incredible staff. From preserving the historic treasures in this building to tending the gardens around the Capitol complex, the staff of the architect of the Capitol office make sure that our Capitol continues to stand as a visible beacon of freedom and the rule of law. And the work they did for the inauguration and for President Carter's lying in state was tremendous. From building an inaugural stage and then another inaugural stage, once freezing temperatures forced the inauguration indoors, to setting up chairs, providing support for TV and press operations, and decorating the building, Tom and his staff worked tirelessly. I want to give special thanks to Raynell Bennett in Tom's office, who plays a key role in ceremonial events here in the Capitol and whose unfailingly can-do attitude makes planning these events a lot easier. Mr. President, in addition to the architect of the Capitol office, I also want to recognize Jennifer Hemingway, the Senate Sergeant at Arms, and her office. Members of the Sergeant at Arms office perform essential security and preparedness functions in the Capitol. They monitor the doors to the Senate floor and maintain order in the galleries. And they're custodians of Senate protocol, including providing key ceremonial support when dignitaries visit. They were essential to both the inauguration and President Carter's lying in state, and I am very grateful for their work. I also cannot fail to mention the Secretary of the Senate's office, as well as members of my staff who worked on both the lying in state and the inauguration. And my deep thanks to all those who maintained the cleanliness of the Capitol and the Senate buildings and ensured that so many spaces were ready to welcome visitors. Finally, Mr. President, I want to recognize all the women and men of the Capitol Police who stand on guard for us every day, but whose workload was vastly increased by these events. They put a lot of effort and a lot of overtime into ensuring safe and successful events, and I'm grateful every single day for their service. Thanks is also due to other law enforcement agencies and officers who contributed to these events, including the Secret Service, as well as members of the National Guard. I'm grateful for every man and woman in this country who put themselves on the line to protect their fellow Americans. Mr. President, before I close, I want to mention another Senate employee, the first and so far only archivist of the Senate, who is retiring after an incredible 40-plus years. As the first ever Senate archivist, Karen Paul has played a significant role in creating archiving standards for the Senate and in drawing attention to the need to preserve records of the work that we do for posterity. Her publications as archivist include the Records Management Handbook for United States Senators and their archival repositories, and the Records Management Handbook for United States Senate Committees, key references for Senate staffers working to ensure that the documents of democracy are preserved for the long term. I want to thank Karen for her decades of work and her dedication to the Senate. Not everyone can say that he or she has played a key role in safeguarding the history of an American institution, but Karen can. And I wish her the very best in her well-deserved retirement.